After doing some research on George W. Bush, he's not that bad of a president. I mean, the man had straight A's at Yale and owned the Rangers.
Your research efforts were lacking, then.
Doobie is a pretty cool guy. He accomplishes missions and doesn't afraid of anything.
Ah yes, the Doobie Bush era. Back when C-SPAN could go by Comedy Central to when he was on.
He served 8 years as president and dealt with the biggest national tragedy ever. He certainly was not an idiot.
Where were you looking? Fox News Online?
He did a good job for his first 6 years when he had a Republican-lead Congress. Democrats winning control of the Senate and House in 2006 really messed things up. I don't give President Bush a free pass though. Signing that foolish bank bailout bill in 2008 really put a negative image on his whole presidency.
And sitting in a classroom for many minutes was being a good president?
I've never understood the complaint about him sitting calmly in that kid's classroom after he got the news. What was he supposed to have done? You know what, never mind. If that was enough for you to not consider him a good president, you are not being honest with yourself. If you can be honest with yourself, you definitely won't be honest with me.
So causing a depression as a result of your inane policies makes you not that bad of a president?
Typical liar-barrel revisionist history. Liar-barrels have been in control of Congress since 2006, and Obama has been ramping up spending, taxes, and government control of everything since 2008. Bush saved us from their horrible policies. It seems we need his leadership skills once again.
Typically conservative ignorance. Bush had a Republican Congress for the first 6 years of his presidency, and Democrats only took over Congress for the last 2 years. Bush still controlled policy and had veto power for the last 2 years, in case you forgot how our government worked. More importantly, 2 years of Democrats did not cause all of those problems that caused the economy to fail. That was the result of Bush's negligence for all those years prior.
Well, Mao, you are so wrong, it's funny. Mao. When the right people for government were in power, we had unprecedented growth. Everyone agrees with this, and if you don't, you are flat out lying and being willfully untruthful. It was when the liar-barrels took power away from the people that we began to fail, starting directly at the liar-barrel takeover of Congress and making gains in the Senate. It is common knowledge that the less liar-barrels there are, the better.
It makes me sad that you think that the entire economy collapsed because of a Democrat Congress that was in power only 6 months before the recession started. The economic crisis was decades in the making and was a failure of the entire system. This need to blame either party is retarded and gets us nowhere. The worst economy we faced prior to this one was in the early 80s. Reagan inherited a bad economy every bit as bad as this one. We saw unemployment stay at 9 to 10% for 2 full years into his first term, and it took nearly 6 years to get to under 7% unemployment. Does that mean Reagan sucked as a leader? No. It means that extremely deep recessions take years to get out of.
Dude, nobody was saying all the problems were caused in 2006. Obviously, the federal government has been out of control for decades. President Bush and the Republican-lead House and Senate worked around huge problems like SS, Medicaid, Housing Mess Act. What we are pointing out is that in 2006, when the Democrats took over Congress, their budgets and bills did not even attempt to manage the ongoing problems. Laugh out loud at your silly notion that people like myself are trying to say all the problems were created in 2006 to now. Hell, I personally have, and still am, been pointing out since the mid-1990s how retardedly crazy the housing market was. I got pre-approved for over $300K in 1997 with a $13-an-hour job. Pointing out that stuff didn't go straight to hell too well after the demos took Congress is not saying all the problems were created that year. Only a liberal would draw the crazy conclusion. We are simply pointing out that the Republican-led House and Senate were able to manage the many problems and not let them blow up in America's face. All the bailouts, for example, have been pushed by a Demo-controlled Congress during this economic downturn. They are the nuts who think throwing billions at a problem fixes a problem.
blaming either side is wrong. I firmly believe that the entire system failed. September 15, 2008 would have happened with a Democrat or Republican Congress. Neither did anything while the housing bubble was growing. It's just silly. First you say that the Republicans need some of the blame, but they don't, since they managed all of the issues leading up to the crisis. That whole rant made no sense. Not doing a goddamn thing does not equal managing stuff, and make no mistake, both parties didn't do a thing to stop the meltdown.
He was a great president. The fact he cut taxes so much and completely trashed PAYGO when it expired during wartime makes him the most economically smart president in history. All during a surplus. In fact, he might even be responsible for the future fall of our empire. A brilliant man indeed. Bush wasn't bad at all. People just wanted someone to blame all of their problems on. And Bush made himself an easy target. Then the liberal media perpetuated the stereotype that Bush was an idiot. And of course most Americans just went along with it because they were told to. He wasn't a bad president.
Yes, he was. He left us with two conflicts in which success is unrealizable, turned a surplus into a deficit, and the biggest recession in 80+ years. Not to add tarnishing our image abroad. How can anyone not call a president who inherited a prosperous country and left it riddled with so many woes a bad one? Boggles my mind.
Success in Iraq is unrealizable? It seems everybody assumes Iraq is the same as in 2008 when the media started covering it less. I'm not saying success is inevitable in Iraq. The government may not be able to handle its responsibilities, and in many years the country may fall back into civil war, but right now there is a democratic government. The insurgency is manageable, just like many other countries have problems with insurgencies, and the US has pulled out combat ground units.
Then what happened to the WMDs? Exactly.